So Kev, we've got this opportunity to bounce back from the midweek result on Saturday. How do we go about doing that?
No, listen, as we always do. I think that's we had a good start to the season, so we're pleased with how it's gone. We're disappointed to lose a game, of course, but your perspective, 14 points from sevens, a good return, and we just want to react properly. And we've trained properly today, and look forward to going into the weekend against Halifax side who played obviously last night. End up getting a point in the end, so looking forward to it. Players in a good place, and it's just about having the right balance of taking apart the game and what it looked like, what we've done well, what we could have done better, and that will never change.
Looking at a positive from Tuesday night with Slavy Spazov's first goal for the club, what have you made of the way that he's adapted to back being in full-time professional football? Yeah,
pleased. I think it takes a while to get up to speed in terms of what's asked, in terms of the forwards and within the team, cohesion if you want. So pleased he got his goal because he had a good chance just before that, and it was an opportunist chance that he missed. But then he's kept going, and obviously a bit of luck with the goal. But you earn that sometimes. So pleased he's off the mark as well now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then looking at Halifax, they've had a new manager, a load of new players as well. What are you expecting to face from them?
Yeah, listen, I think Adam's is someone I know quite well, and done really well previously at Kings Lynn, and changed a bit in terms of how they play. Slight change in shape from last year, how Halifax were, and as you say, brought in some new players, and look like they want to play some good attacking football, and to get bodies forward. And watching the game last night, it was a decent game, and I'm sure they'll be glad they got something in the end. The game, when you're that late in the game. So yeah, we know what they'll come and do. They'll be ready, of course, but yeah, so will we.
We've just had 2 games on the road, and now we've got 2 home games coming up, and then there's a week between them, and then it's all another Saturday, Tuesday period. Yeah. How good is this as an opportunity to sort of take stock and then build on the really great start that we've made already? Yeah,
I think so. I think you just can keep doing things consistently, and I think that's the most important thing. And sometimes nights aren't going to go your way, sometimes they are, and you're going to win games that you probably didn't think you're going to do, and you're going to play well and not get results, but that's football. What you've got to do is stay level-headed and consistent with the message you give the players, and I think they've done that. I think they trained well today, so we're okay. We're looking forward to the next game now, and as you say, it's been hectic, so there might be a little bit of breathing space for everyone in the league after this weekend, and before it goes again.
We've had 3 crowds of over 8,000 at Roots Hall. How excited are you to be back there again?
Yeah, of course. I think we've had a couple of away ones, and it's important we get back in front of our own fans and give them something to cheer and try and put points on the board.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, obviously it's showing to see the unbeaten start of the season come to an end, but what would you say are the biggest takeaways you can take from that game?
No, there's just a couple of things within the team structure, what it looked like when we did have the ball and we didn't have the ball, and we've looked at it today, and I think there's areas we could have done better that we have been doing well, and we come off it slightly. But I think it's important that recognising that and learning from that and putting it into practice what you've got to do better.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking to Harry Taylor before as well, I suppose obviously at the time very raw to take that one, but then you look back on it and there were real positives to take from.
Yeah, listen, you've lost 1 in 7. You know what I mean? And it's perspective on things. I think when you're at a club like Southend, some things can be extremes either way. But you can't get too high or too low either way. There's a long season. There's going to be ups and downs.
Now, obviously, I understand if you're not in a position to answer this question, but obviously this is the first time we've spoken to you since the dismissal. Can you give us your perspective of what happened in the build-up?
Yeah, I don't want to say too much. I don't think you'd meant to speak out afterwards. Shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't have done that. I think the other manager's come out and said something that probably is half truth. I don't think the referee's report hasn't come through and nothing like that. So he's left out a bit of his hands on me.
Well, Harry Taylor's not going back to what he said before as well. He used the phrase "clean slate" moving forward from this one as well, which is when you're in a management position and you want to avoid. How do you sort of avoid your players' heads hanging down? And where does that process start from? Yeah,
I think it started after the game. I think they're disappointing. They should be, because everyone hates losing. I think you will have a 5-a-side in training. Everyone hates losing, so that's no different. And what you do is get out on the training pitch and work, and you look forward, and that's football, because every team in the land has setbacks, and it's getting over that quickly and focusing what you've got to do and learning from that. And I think it's important you do that and you analyse the game, and that's the process starts a game. Looking forward to the next game.
On the team news side of things, obviously Slavy, great to see him get a goal, but obviously came off in that second half. How's he? Is he alright?
Yeah, it spasmed up his back, so he's had to let that settle down for a couple of days. Hasn't trained today, so we'll see how he goes next 24 hours or so to see whether he makes the weekend or not.
And Josh Walker, Noyce and Kendall missed out on the Tuesday trip. I know they've been.
Yeah, Josh still with the physio, so we're still waiting on him. Hopefully he can start to pick up his recovery next few days, week if you want, and make him he'll be a bit closer again. Charlie's better, so we can get him to do some training, and Nora as well. Hopefully we'll see how they react to training next day or two. Now,
Nathan Ralph, obviously great to see him come onto the bench on Tuesday, but Joe Gobbins had that starting place ahead of him, and I suppose how good a position is that to be in where you've got a lot of great competition in that defence?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, Joe's come in and done brilliantly, and exactly why we brought him here. We see the potential he's got, and right now, obviously, Ralphie missing for a few games, we showed that you can bring one in, and results haven't changed. So all credit to Gubbo that, and it's good to have Ralphie pushing him as well.
Definitely. Now Halifax coming to Roots Hall, they got a 1-1 draw against Woking. Bit of a mixed start for them this year. Well, whereabouts you expect those dangers to be on the pitch? Yeah,
as you say, listen, the changes, of course, in the summer they had a really good season getting the playoffs last year, and obviously Millie going and Adam coming in, change of players and stuff like that. So sometimes takes a little while to get going, but changing formation, changing shape and how they played, quite expansive. We've had the midfielders drop in and the fullbacks get high, but there'll be threats, of course. And you're watching the game last night, they're really competitive, kept going and got their draw in the end. And possibly could have had a couple of chances earlier in the game that they would have liked to have taken. It might have been different, but they've got threats. Yeah, they've got some good threats going forward that we've had a look at. But we've got to focus on ourselves. We've got to get ourselves ready, and if we can bring our best to the party, then we're a tough nut as well.
Absolutely, and of course, great to be back at Roots Hall as well. A win and 2 draws coming into this one as well, and as touched on, big crowds expected as well. What's the message to them ahead of this one? Yeah,
listen, as always, get behind the players. It's important that we respond to midweek and they come with us and make it as difficult as possible for opponents coming to us.
Definitely. And 7 games in as well, tables early days still, but do you feel like we're starting to see a bit of shape of who's going to be in those top areas?
Possibly.
The league is one of those ways where you can win on the day.
Yeah, I think it's still tight, isn't it, in terms of points, tallies and stuff like that. You do see certain teams that are up there, which we thought about. That hasn't surprised me because of how strong they are. But yeah, listen, still early days, and I think you can see what a couple of wins can do to push you up the league, or if you're not winning a couple, that you can go back into a pack. So I think for everyone, teams. We found it last year. We were still sorting out a squad, and I think some teams are still doing that. But it's just getting points on the board. That's the most important thing, and keep ticking them off.
Thanks, Kev. Rihanna's just got one question for you.
So 5 of your 11 goals scored by new signings this season. Overall, how impressed are you with their performance so far?
Yeah, delighted, of course. I think Goody, someone we know, was really pleasing. Sam Austin, I think, has shown what he can bring. Slavy got his goal. I think Harry Boyes has been so consistent and he's continuing to grow in what he's done. So pleased all round, with all of them, and with the forwards getting their goals as well. That's important. We're going to have injuries and stuff like that, but they're all contributing. I think that's important, and especially when you come to a club and you can get off the mark. I think that's really important as well. Thank you.
Is there a slight worry of a striker shortage for Saturday, or you touch with people will be alright and you'll still have sort of enough options in there?
Yeah, we'll still have enough options in that area.
Boots at home then.
Yeah.
It seems to be, and I mentioned to you the other day, a crazy stat that it's nearly a year since Southend got a penalty in a league game. Can you put your finger on why that is? It just seems quite remarkable.
Yeah, it's an incredible stat because I think the year before we had quite a few. I remember. Really strange. I go back to the playoff game with. I think Keenan probably had one at Rochdale that looks nailed on. I think even the other night is with Boise is incredible, because Ben spoke to the ref afterwards, and he said there was contact, but it was minimal. Well, how much contact do you want? You know what I mean? Because if you're giving one, you've got to give the other. And we've had a couple already this year that really strange ones that haven't been given. I think Keenan's had one. So yeah, it's a strange stat, because I think on top of that, I'll go through the stats from last year. We're right up the top of the table for touches in opposition boxes. We've got the most crosses in the league last year. In terms of final third entries, we're right up there. So we've been in opposition's boxes. We're honest. I'd say that.
Yeah.
We're an honest bunch, and maybe we've got to be a bit streetwise on stuff. But yes, a strange one to say the least.
Yeah, and sorry to have to ask, but you were right to be on the touchline on Saturday. I don't know how it works with managers' red cards.
No, I haven't heard any different yet. So that's, with the powers that be.